Good morning. We will begin our service with the ringing of the temple bell. At this time, please silence your cell phones and listen quietly, as the sounding of the concho is an invitation to settle our hearts and minds as we prepare to receive the Dharma. Thank you.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Welcome and thank you for joining us today's Eitaikyo Sangha Memorial Service, either in person or via Zoom. A special aloha to Reverend Eric Matsumoto for flying all the way over from Honolulu to be our guest speaker. I am Alyssa Tagawa, and I will be serving as your MC. As explained by Reverend Blaine, Eitaikyo means the perpetual chanting of sutras. The word sutra means thread, and it is what connects us to the truth found in the Buddha's teachings. Buddhism began as an oral tradition, with the teachings having been passed down through memorized chanting. The act of chanting connects us to all those who have come before and to all those who will follow as we chant the very same sutras. Eitaikyo is an opportunity to reflect on the lives and the actions of those good teachers and spiritual friends who have enabled us to encounter the teachings and to make donations for the continuing cultivation of the Dharma. Assisting Reverend Blaine at the temple with technical support are Alan Matsumoto, Joey Guzman, and Wendy Terada. Betty Takioko will lead the singing. Let us start the service with offering of flowers by Elaine Nakagawa and Mildred Kaneko. Offering of lights will be done by Hetty Casquillo Gray and Jack Nunberg. Offering of incense will now be done by officiant Reverend Blaine Higo.
Namandab, 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 namandab.
Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Reverend Blaine. Those of you on Zoom, be sure you have your muted mics.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namandab, 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 namandab.
Please remain standing as Reverend Blaine will now share an aspiration.
Please join me in Gassho. We gather this morning as friends in the Dharma, as fellow travelers along the journey of life. During this Eitaikyo Sangha Memorial Service, we reflect on the numerous causes and conditions that have enabled us to encounter the life-giving teaching of the Buddha. We take time to remember the good Dharma friends and teachers who have shared with us the true way of living within Amida Buddha's compassionate embrace. Let us endeavor to listen to the Buddha Dharma with not just our ears, but with our entire being, and strive to embody the teaching in our thoughts through our words and by our actions, sharing the living Nembutsu of peace with everyone. We offer loving kindness to all who suffer the ravages of war and political division. May we reflect on the countless lives lost and our communities which are in desperate need of healing as we offer our heartfelt wish for a more harmonious world. May we always take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows us the way in this life, the Dharma, the way of understanding and love, and the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. In trusting in the Buddha of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida in profound gratitude, abiding joy, and a heart-centered awareness for the miracle of living. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.
Please be seated. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandab, 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 namandab.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in chanting the sutra, Hymn in Praise of Buddha. Words can be found on page 112 of the Red Jodo Shinshu Service book and on the screen. Again, page 112.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Sambutsuge, or Hymn in Praise of Buddha, is a poem from the larger Pure Land Sutra in which Amida Buddha, as a bodhisattva, praises his teacher and makes his 48 vows to establish the Pure Land of Enlightenment for the welfare and happiness of all beings. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken and to liberate us all. The Hymn in Praise of Buddha. Your face shines in great splendor, boundless, wondrous dignity, such the greatness of your light, beyond all comparison, brightness of the sun and moon, and the shining mani jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds through the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, efforts, meditation, wisdom are virtues beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed all the Dharma sea to the limits and the depths of all things the Buddhas teach. Ignorance, anger, and greed, the world honored one has none. Like a lion among men, measureless your great virtue, vast are your great virtuous deeds, wisdom deep and so sublime. Your radiant, luminous light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings. My giving discipline, mine precepts, patience, and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. I will attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing to all those in fear great peace and tranquility. Though there are myriad Buddhas, beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sands. I will honor each of them, equally accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way, even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even through all lands and realms are boundless without measure. Yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice transcendent, its people sublime and rare, land equal to nirvana, beyond all comparison, with pity for everyone, I will carry all across, all who come from 10 quarters, to be born into my land, to attain pure joyful mind, peace and great tranquility. Be my witness, Buddha, please. Confirm my sincerity. Now that I have made my vows, I will strive to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unhindered, may all of these honored ones know my deepest intention, even though my body must bear great pain and suffering. I will persevere and strive patiently without regret. Naman Namu Naman Namu Naman Namu Naman Namu Naman Namu Naman Namu. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandabu, 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 namandabu.
Please rise for the Gatha Ondokusan, gratefulness. Words can be found on the printed handouts and on your screen. There is no organist today, so please do your best singing along with Annie Betty.
Okay, ready, everybody? Gonna sing loud. Okay. 如来大悲の音読は身を粉にしても恐ずべし死臭知識の音読も骨を砕きても射すべし By the benevolence of Amida's light, how in utmost we entrust, deep thanks express for our debt to teachers, for their guidance true. We dedicate ourselves in gratefulness. Namanabs, namanabs, namanabs.
Please be seated. This morning, I am delighted to introduce our guest speaker, everyone's favorite minister from Kona, Reverend Eric Matsumoto. He is the current resident minister of Aiea Hongwanji and former bishop of Hompa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii. Reverend Eric was born and raised right here in Kona. He attended Honaunau Elementary School and Konawana High School and Intermediate School, where he graduated in 1977. Growing up, these very temple grounds were where he was nourished with the Dharma while attending Sunday services and being an active member of the Junior YBA. Reverend Eric furthered his education at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, where he obtained a BA in history and minored in liberal studies in Japanese language and culture. He then attended Ryukoku University Graduate School in Kyoto, Japan, and graduated with a master's degree in Shin Buddhist Studies in 1991. He received Tokudo ordination in 1988, followed by full certification in 1991. Throughout his educational journey, he was an honor student and active in many campus organizations. He started his ministerial career with Hawaii Kyodan in 1992 as associate minister at Hompa Hongwanji, Hawaii Betsuan for 2 years. For the next 8 years, he served as resident minister of Honoka'a, Kamuela, Kohala, and Pauilo Hongwanji Buddhist temples. Then in 2002, he moved to Oahu and served as resident minister of Mo'iliili Hongwanji. On March 1st, 2011, he became the 16th bishop of Hompa Hongwanji Mission of Hawaii, a position he served with distinction for 12 years. Reverend Eric's entire life has been full of leadership roles in numerous Hongwanji, as well as community boards, committees, and organizations. He has also been the recipient of many awards and scholarships and has been invited to participate in notable gatherings and presentations statewide. He was most recently honored this past September as an inductee to the Konawana High School Wall of Fame as an alumnus who has made outstanding contributions to society. Congratulations, Reverend Eric. All of Kona is so very proud of you. Reverend Eric is married to wife Tamayo and has 2 children, daughter Chika and son Caden. His parents are the late Glenn and Ann Matsumoto, and his brother is Alan, who is a vital and supportive member of our Sangha. Please give a warm welcoming aloha to Reverend Eric Matsumoto.
Good morning and aloha kako. Please join me in Gasho Anjali for an opening reflection. I'd like to read the purpose as stated in our teachings of Jodo Shinshu in our Red Service book. The Honganji School is a community of people joined together revering the teaching of Shinran Shonin and saying the Nembutsu. We seek to share with others the wisdom and compassion of Amida Tathagata. By doing so, we shall work toward the realization of a society in which everyone is able to live a life of spiritual fulfillment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Once again, good morning. In 2023, as the interim director of the Buddhist Studies Center, I wrote a short article about our slogan for 2024, sharing Nembutsu moments. This year is the last year of our theme, building healthy sanghas. When I was bishop, well, even before that, I realized how we should collect local stories of people's lives who have been touched by the Nembutsu. It's okay to have stories from India, China, Japan, but we also, I thought, really need real life stories from right here in Hawaii. Thus, I did task the State Ministers Association Propagation Committee with this project, but it's been kind of slow in coming to fruition. But meanwhile, the Commission on Buddhist Education, as I think many of you do know, headed by Debbie Kubota, has ventured to collect some short stories. I hope that some of you here from Kona had a Nembutsu moment story to share. The wording Nembutsu moments was coined by our our immediate past president, Mr. Piper Toyama. He and I would have long conversations and discussions about the teachings, and we both agreed that yes, more people, more of you and me, need to share our experience of Namo Amida Butsu, so more people can come to know the Nembutsu teachings. It's one of the most important ways that others will come to know who or what the Honganji is and the Dharma, the teachings. As I think we all know, word of mouth, the buzz, people talking about it, something is the most powerful form of advertisement there is. We don't need a $200,000 advertising campaign or commercial if we talk about it, if we share. And so this was sort of one of the reasons, so to speak, why I thought, collecting these Nembutsu moments or us sharing our Dharma-enriched life, is so special, important. Granted, many of us have Asian backgrounds, and sometimes cultural values make it kind of hard for us to openly share, because we're kind of told to be humble and not be too visible, and things of that nature. But I think we do though. As a Buddhist now, I think we do need to share our joy, our awareness, why we're so grateful. And so I think a way is for us, again, to share these experiences, to hear about other people's stories too, and what has touched them and moves them, so that we too can have the same wonderful experience. And so today, as we observe Eitaikyo, I'd like to share some of these stories or experiences that I have had, not something I created, but what some others have enabled me to experience. But before I do that, I'd like to kind of share, though, what is the Nembutsu moment, the Nembutsu moment. The true Nembutsu moment is the moment of the attainment of the realization of Shinjin, or true entrusting, which is endowed to us by Amida Buddha, coupled with the first saying of Namandabutsu. The key here is Shinjin, true entrusting, again endowed by Amida Buddha and received by us. True entrusting in Shin Buddhism is not my creation or our making. It's Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion blossoming within us. The ultimate Nembutsu moment is very beautifully, poetically captured in a book called the Tanisho. In chapter 1, it shares, and I like the late Reverend Dr. Taitetsu Uno's translation, and so I'd like to share that. He says, or translates, when the thought of saying the Nembutsu emerges decisively from within, having entrusted ourselves to the inconceivable power of Amida's vow which saves us, enabling us to be born in the Pure Land, in that very moment, we receive the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned, end quote. Again, the ultimate Nembutsu moment, very simply, is that instant, that moment, maybe even less than a millionth of a second, due to the workings of Amida's wisdom and compassion, when true and trusting blossoms, and there's that first spontaneous saying of Namandabutsu, or where the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, naturally voices itself in awareness of great compassion. After that first initial saying, every voicing of Namo Amida Butsu is done primarily in joyous gratitude. It's continually recited throughout one's life in wonder and awe and gratitude of this unparalleled compassion, which does not abandon this very self-centered I, who, if left to my own devices, have no hope of attaining perfect peace and happiness of enlightenment. There's really, to me, no string of words that can really convey this moment. However, perhaps we might be able to relate it by saying that it's like when you see something, hear something, experience something so beautiful, so touching, so profound, that it kind of leaves you speechless. And all that pops into your mind, maybe and escapes our lips, is, wow. This may be a way to maybe explain the significance or the feeling of the experience. It's a wow moment that surpasses any other wow moment. After that, one continually in awe, continues to say wow, wow, wow throughout one's life, reciting the Nembutsu. This is explained in the collected works of Shindang in the following way, quote, the moment of awakening of Shinjin and saying the Nembutsu is a moment both in and out of time. It is time that has become full and rich, having been permeated by timelessness, end quote. The timelessness is Namo Amida Butsu, or Amida Buddha. The Nembutsu moments, that's part of our slogan though, wants to include other precious moments, Dharma-inspired moments that are unforgettable and of lasting value. It encourages us to share, again, with others in hopes that others too will be able to experience the same Namo Amida Butsu in their lives. I'd like to today share with you real life stories of individuals who are connected with the Big Island, Nokaoi. And so people, some of you know, and actually know. The first story I'd like to share is connected with the late Reverend Shonen Tamekuni. I think some of you here would remember him. He was a minister here at Konahonganji, but this is an experience shared by Reverend Bruce Nakamura, who I'm sure many of you also do remember too, and myself. I don't remember the exact year already. I'm getting old too. But we were at a State Ministers Association seminar, and it was at the Kaimana Beach Hotel on Oahu. That much I do remember. Well, we were taking a short break from our meeting or lecture, I can't remember, but Reverend Bruce and I went to the men's room. And so, as we finished our business, we were, washing our hands and so forth. And that's when Reverend Tamekuni walked in. And, Reverend Bruce and I acknowledged Reverend Tamekuni, as he walked into the restroom. And then it happened. As Reverend Bruce and I were finishing washing our hands, out of the blue, in a very deep and resounding voice, Reverend Tamekuni began reciting Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu. And you know how restrooms are, they kind of echo, yeah? And so it's like, Reverend Bruce and I are like, looking at each other, speechless, of course, but, Reverend Bruce and I think, had the same experience in that moment, We always say how Amida Buddha is everywhere, right? Well, Reverend Tamekuni that day shared with us, yes, Amida Buddha is everywhere, including the restroom. That was unforgettable for me, one of those Nembutsu moments, The second story is when I was in North Hawaii at the Kamuela Honganji. There was a member by the name of Mr. Isami Ishihara, and he was very active at the temple along with his wife, and so we met quite often. And one day after I moved to Moiliili, I got a call from the family saying that, oh, Dad was in the hospital, so, would you mind going to visit him since, he knew who I was. And so I said, sure, of course, by all means. And so, I think as many of us might, think, if somebody is in the hospital, maybe they need someone to encourage them, or something of that nature, and so forth. And so I kind of went with that mindset. But what I experienced, though, was something totally different. As I was reminiscing with Mr. Ishihara, all of a sudden he says, Sensei, I have something I want to ask you. I hope it's okay. He looks at me and said, Sensei, is it okay for me to recite the Gobunsho? And I guess my initial reaction must have been, huh? But, very quickly I said, oh, of course it is. And at that point, from memory, lying on the hospital bed, Mr. Ishihara began to recite one of Renyo Shonin's letters. Matsudai muchi no zai keishi ju no nanyo taran tomogara wa kokoro wo hitotsu ni shite Amida Butto wo fukaku tanomi maedasete, and so forth, until he finished with Anakashiko, Anakashiko. Well, needless to say, I was so surprised, He did it so naturally and with such feeling. Again, normally, right, I think when somebody asks you to, a minister to visit, they may be at the end of life or, expecting a prayer to be said for them to, get better and so forth. But, wow, his reciting the Gobunsho, again, too, left me kind of speechless, yeah. We're both savoring the great compassion of Amida Buddha. And after a moment, he said, I always wanted to recite it. Thank you, Sensei. Thank you. At that moment, I knew Mr. Ishihara was okay. Yeah. It didn't matter if he got well or not from, his ailment. He knew he was embraced by Amida's great compassion. And his reciting of the Gobunsho to me was, testimony or testament of that. For me, it was truly another Nembutsu moment. I know Reverend Blaine knows, but back in 2019, in Honolulu, with the cooperation of the Honolulu temples, we partnered with Pacific Health Ministry to host an ISPEC 2019 seminar, which is interprofessional spiritual care education curriculum, which was held in Honolulu and featured Dr. Christina Pochelski, who's someone who's promoting that spiritual care should be included in healthcare. And she's trying to do that and so forth. And so the night before the conference or the seminar, we hosted the group at Hawaii Betsing, and we're able to share with them, the Buddhist tradition, including sharing, a recitation of the white ashes and so forth. And for many, it was the first time, because most of the people were from the mainland and a few other foreign countries. And so for them, many of them, it was the first time that they stepped into a Buddhist temple. So I think it was a wonderful opportunity. But later at the seminar at the Alamona Hotel, at one of the breakout sessions, I shared with the group that, there are times when a person is truly okay with their illness or dying. Yeah, I know many times, people say that because they think that's the right thing to say, right? Or that's going to probably give comfort to their family or whoever, so they say they're fine when they're actually really not and still grappling with, what they're experiencing. But there are times, and there are many cases of that in our tradition, that people really are fine with, getting older, being ill, and dying. And so I kind of wanted to share that, with the group, that there are times when people are perfectly fine, all right, that we don't really have to worry about them. And that is, to me, because they find themselves again embraced by this great compassion, which they know will never abandon them. And again, I don't know if the group really understood what I was trying to convey, because it is kind of rare, but I've had the wondrous opportunity to see many instances of where it's true. And so I wanted to share with the group that, those experiences. The third story is also a similar one. It's about Mr. Noriyasu Matsumura. He was the president of Honoka Honganji when I was there at Honoka. He was a veteran, and he got injured during his years of service. He also got very sick once, and but recovered. And I distinctly remember him sharing that the reason he decided to accept that offer of being a temple president was that, well, he thought that, of course, the temple does a lot for the community. And so he thought, yes, the temple deserves my support. And so he committed to becoming, president of Honoka Honganji. And he openly shared, that, I'm not a religious person, he says, but I do see the value of the temple. And so, he decided to commit himself to supporting Honoka Honganji. But as I mentioned, he did get sick earlier in his life, but he got sick again. He had a remission, and so he found himself again ill. But in between that time, though, he was always at the temple, whether it was cleaning up or helping to set up or clean up or emceeing temple services like today and so forth. But when he became ill again, of course, he was confined to home, and his two sons even came back to help care for him. Well, one day, one of the sons, called me and asked if I could come, to their home. And so at that point, Mr. Matsumoto couldn't speak anymore for the cancer had affected his throat. And so he couldn't verbally communicate. And so, we were communicating through gestures, and so forth. And at one point, he started going like this. And it's like none of us could kind of figure out what he was trying to say. And so I kind of dared ask him and says, are you pointing to the Pure Land? And that's when he nodded his head. Yeah. The look on his face to me was that he was telling us not to worry about him, that he was ready to journey to the Pure Land. It brought tears to all of us who were there, his sons, myself, my wife. He was facing his last moment, with so much optimism, courage, strength, and gratitude. And previously he said he wasn't religious, but at that moment, we all sensed the presence of Namo Amida Butsu through him. It was a moving moment for me. Again, another Nembutsu moment. The fourth and final story that I'd like to share today is about Mili Shindo, which I think many of you here in Kona might know or remember her. She was a Moilili Honganji member, and so that's where I met her for the first time. But again, many here in Kona would probably remember her as a Matsuda girl. Yeah, she's the daughter of Haru and Tennojo Matsuda, the sister of Clara Uechi. Muneto's book, Dharma Treasures, Spiritual Insights from Hawaii's Shin Buddhist Pioneers, contains many poems, written by many people here of this temple, and Haru Matsuda is one of them. Two poems that I'd like to share with you today that Haru Matsuda wrote are the following. Without knowing, Namo Amida Butsu suddenly appears, barring my lips, calling onto me. And the other is, my children, please go to sleep while calling on the name, sound asleep in the arms of Oya-sama, Amida Buddha, that is. One day, I got a call from a care home in Makiki. It was Mili Shindo. She asked if I could come and visit her. Again, I had the thought in mind that, maybe she's not doing well, and so forth. Well, when I got to the care home, we exchanged our greetings, and soon afterwards, she asked me, Sensei, can we say the Nembutsu together? I was kind of surprised, but of course, I said, I'll be happy to recite the Nembutsu with you. And so we did. Yeah. We recited Naman Dabatsu, Naman Dabatsu, Naman. After a brief silence, she looked at me and said, now I understand. When I was younger and growing up in Kona, I just couldn't understand my parents. They were always reciting the Nembutsu. It was bewildering. It didn't matter what they were doing. They could be at home doing chores. They could be out in the coffee field picking coffee. For goodness sake, they even recited the Nembutsu while they were sleeping. I guess they could hear, yeah? Now, how do you do that? However, today now, I finally understand. And the same Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, comes to my lips too. It took me all these years, but I finally gratefully understand my parents' life of Nembutsu. Sensei, I must deeply apologize to you. I'm sorry I called you all the way here, but I just wanted to recite Nembutsu with you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. And that was the end of the visit. We just recited Nembutsu. Well, with those words, I left, and well, even to this day though, that experience, brings me so much happiness and joy. All the way home, I couldn't help but nod my head in acknowledgement that how 2 generations of the Matsuda family had lived the words of Renyo Shonin's in one of his other letters, in which he said, "Once our heart, mind of true and trusting Shinjin is settled, we should say the Nembutsu, whether awake or asleep, for as long as we live." Billy Shindo and the Matsudas were actually doing that. However, the workings of great compassion continues in the legacy of the Matsuda family. In the person of Carrie Nakagawa. Carrie is the granddaughter of Haru and Dennojo Matsuda. She grew up in Honanaokona, as I understand it. I never knew her personally, but this is what Reverend Marvin Harada, former bishop, minister of Orange County Buddhist Temple and the current bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America, shared with me about Carrie. He said that, he always shared with me that Carrie had passed away from pancreatic cancer. It was so quick and sudden that she succumbed in less than 3 months. However, from the day that she was diagnosed, Carrie's demeanor never changed. She was so grateful. She said, "I have lived a wonderful life. I have so much to be grateful for." She remained positive, grateful, and good spirits despite her condition. Carrie was a temple member. She served as a Dharma school teacher, Girl Scout leader, member of the temple board. She active member of the adult Buddhist education, and so forth. She was loved by all throughout her years here at Orange County, that is. We deeply miss her, but her children and grandchildren are carrying on her involvement and dedicated service. They are all involved. Carrie lived the joyous and grateful life of Nembutsu, was what Reverend Harada shared with me. In thinking about it, wow, for those who knew Carrie, I believe they experienced, many wonderful Nembutsu moments with her as well. In this way, for me, I was personally able to witness and hear about the wondrous workings of Amida Buddha's great wisdom and compassion. These individuals showed me the power of the Nembutsu, which supported them and gave them such strength and courage. They faced exceedingly challenging and difficult times in their life, but they weren't depressed or lamenting their condition. On the contrary, they understood, even embraced their situation, and lived with such a positive attitude. Again, to me, because they knew Amida Buddha was embracing them, regardless of time, place, or condition. As a poem by Shinran Shonin shares, seeing sentient beings of the Nembutsu throughout the world's countless such particles in the 10 quarters, the Buddha grasps and never abandons them, and therefore is named Amida. When I reflect on their lives, as another line in the Tanisho says, the Nembutsu is a single, unimpeded path of freedom. Certainly, it's talking about Amida's that great compassion, which our blind passions is not a match for, and how Amida will, without fail, have us attain perfect enlightenment with birth in the Pure Land. But it also manifests itself in people's lives in other ways too. And these individuals shared with me, their Nembutsu, Dharma-enriched lives, which powerfully remains with me even to this day. To me, this is their Eitaikyo. They shared with me the contents of the sutras that we chant, with their Dharma-enriched life. To me, they were the sensei, those who were born before, not me. I'm the one who was born later. They have enriched my life so much. And to conclude, I'd like to again share or emphasize, please let us share our Dharma-enriched life with others, so that that to me is Eitaikyo. Where again, we share the contents of the sutras. I'm convinced that these stories can truly make a difference in other people's lives too. And this is how we can share the Dharma and how our organization will prosper by sharing these Nembutsu moments. Today, lastly, I'd like to share with you this scroll here of Amida Buddha. It belonged to my mother's side of the family, the Yamate family of Pune. My Yamate ancestors brought this scroll with them when they immigrated to Hawaii in the 1800s. The scroll dates from about 1870, the time of the 20th Monshu Konyo Shonin. It was gifted to Tomayo and I at our wedding. It was a wedding present. And it was remounted, but the center portion of the scroll, the blue portion, is its original. I consider it as Eitaikyo of the Yamate side of my family. They passed on this scroll to Tomayo and my generation in hopes that the Denbutsu teachings too will be passed on to the next generation. After the service, please come forward if you want to take a closer look. To close, thank you for the invitation to join you today for Eitaikyo. It's always a pleasure to come back home to Kona. Mahalo nui. And please join me for a final closing reflection. I'd like to read chapter 2 of the Tanisho. There is a difference in compassion between the path of the sages and the path of the Pure Land. The compassion in the path of the Pure Land is to quickly attain Buddhahood, saying the Nembutsu, and with a true heart of compassion and love, save all beings as we desire. In this life, no matter how much empathy and sympathy we may feel for others, it is impossible to help another as we truly wish. Thus, our compassion is inconsistent and limited. Only the saying of the Nembutsu manifests the complete and never-ending compassion, which is true, real, and sincere. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, and mahalo nui again.
Reverend Eric. Wendy Terada will lead us in unison reading of the Creed. Words can be found on page 4 of the service book and on the screen. Please recite the words together with her.
We rely upon Amida Buddha with our whole heart for the enlightenment of the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our imperfect self. We believe that the assurance of birth comes at the very moment we entrust and we call the name Namo Amida Butsu in joy and gratitude for the Buddha's compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and the succeeding masters who have led us to believe in this profound teaching, and we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Wendy. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo everyone for your kind generosity. We will conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nembutsu. Please rise.
Namandab, 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 namandab.
You may be seated. This concludes today's Eitaikyo Sangha Memorial Service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. Next Sunday, November 10, regular Dharma Family Service will be held at 10 a.m. Reverend Blaine will share a Dharma message. Sunday, November 17, please join us for a special service with a message and workshop presented by D. Trinidad Hunt, granddaughter of Reverend Ernest and Dorothy Hunt, at 10 a.m. The service, followed by workshop, are part of the statewide online Dharma School gathering focusing on compassionate listening and how we can live with wisdom and compassion in our troubled world. Please come to attend the 10 a.m. service as usual. You are encouraged to stay for the workshop, but it is optional. Sunday, November 24th, there will be no service, but your kokuo will be greatly appreciated for the Kono Honganji General Cleaning Day starting at 8 a.m. Please come to help even if it's for just a little while so our temple and grounds can get a good once-a-year cleaning. Many hands make light work, so please pitch in. Lunch and refreshments will be provided, so please call the office with a head count. As a fun ending to today's service, we'd like to show a video of last Sunday's Sangha excursion to Kamwala Honganji for their Grandparents' Day service, followed by Somen Nagashi. This video was put together by Darren Katayama and can also be viewed on YouTube.
お天道さんは必ず見 唇噛んだ数だけ人は大きな花を咲かせるものよようやったねようやったね誰も言わんでも私似てるよようやったねようやったねようやったね人生頑張りゃ必ず報われる大きい小さい本当はいいの努力で咲かせた花ならばほんまにようやったね背中に背負った想い重くて逃げそうな時もあるでしょ人なら必ず乗り越えられる荒波越えてお天道さんがにっこり笑う
Thank you, Uncle Darren, for that great video. Those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the social hall. A big mahalo to Lisa Kiriako for providing all the goodies. A special thank you to Reverend Eric Matsumoto for being our guest speaker. Your attendance today is most sincerely appreciated. Please stay healthy and safe by getting all of the recommended vaccinations. Don't forget to order the free COVID test kits too. Hope to see you at future services. Thank you.
Oh,
before we end-
leave, yeah, I think Alan can say that we have a special
you can do it if you
announcement.
want.
So actually, Kristen Katayama, Darren and Lynn's daughter, just gave birth yesterday, and so Darren and Lynn are both on Oahu right now, enjoying grandparents. So we have a picture, the unnamed baby at this point. So.
And of course, we have great grandma and great
Great-grandma.
auntie.
Also, I just want to thank everybody for coming out to our Eitaikyo service. It's always good to be together as Sangha. Thank you to everybody who came out last weekend and made the road trip up to Kamuela. It was a really nice time to be together with another Sangha and to have fellowship together. My big mahalo to Reverend Eric for joining us. Always good to come home to Kona. Thank you to the Omigaki team for doing a great job cleaning the altar ornaments. They look amazing. Thank you very much. And then also thank you to Morris Nagata for the Osanai fruit offerings that he always generously provides for our services. Just one more announcement. So I shared this earlier in my email. So we have a special workshop on November 16th, Saturday, put on by the Alzheimer's Association on Alzheimer's and dementia. So this is a free community workshop. So please come out and check it out. Something we should all kind of be aware of and to kind of learn more about in the event that we may need to either caregive or to offer, or need care ourselves, right? So this will be on Saturday, November 16th, 10 to 11:30 a.m. So please register at the link here on the flyer that I emailed to everybody. So.
Hi, I just want to add that yesterday we had the Kona Coffee Festival stroll in Haleʻaloha. And last year when we had it was the first time the temple was open to the general public. Last year we had maybe 15 people came up and looked inside the temple. And this year I made a little handwritten sign that said temple open today, and we had about 100 people come in. So that was really a beautiful thing. Elaine was there. And next year, when it happens, if anybody wants to volunteer to sit for an hour and just talk story with the folks coming through, they have so many questions. History, Buddhism, you name it, they've got the questions. So it was a beautiful turnout, and we were really excited.
Wonderful. And just please come on the 17th of November to join us for the special service and the workshop with Trinidad Hunt. She lives here in Kona, and so it's a rare opportunity to be able to encounter and to have her share with us. She's a phenomenal speaker and presenter. I think those of you who attended the Dharma 101 class that was done a few months ago here, she was just quite remarkable. And so please come and join us for this special opportunity on the 17th. So, hello. Yes, great job.